The Pacific Ocean is bigger than we think. Even if a hole is drilled across the Earth in the Pacific Ocean off the coast of Chile, the hole would still come out into the Pacific Ocean on the other side of the Earth. There are a total of 5 oceans in the world. The largest of these 5 oceans is called the Pacific Ocean, and it covers a total area of 165 million square kilometers. You will be surprised to know that the total land of our world, that is, the total dry area, is spread over 148 million square kilometers, which means that if the other 4 oceans are removed, the Pacific Ocean alone is more than all the mountains, deserts, forests, and islands of our entire world. There are only a few islands in this entire ocean, and they are so small that they look like a dot compared to this great ocean. These are the islands where most of them have not been stepped on by a human yet. All I want to say is that if a person gets lost in the Pacific Ocean, the chances of finding him are almost non-existent. But now you will know the true story of a man who was lost in the Pacific Ocean on his small boat, and not just for 10 or 15 days, but for 438 days. Yes, this man accidentally set a world record. Welcome back to Voyage Vault. The world record for the longest time spent alone at sea was set by a man named Jose Alvarenga, who spent 438 days at sea, and that too only on a 7-foot small boat. But the question is how he survived alone in the terrible sea for the last 14 months. But before that, we will know why he went into the sea. It was 2012 when a man named Jose Alvarenga lived in a small village in Costa Azul in Mexico. Jose was 36 years old and an expert fisherman. On November 17, 2012, Jose went fishing with a friend. He set out on his small boat. His plan was to spend only 30 hours at sea, so his small boat did not have much equipment. The 7-foot boat had only one engine and a refrigerator, which they used to store fish. Jose, who had left with only 1 day's worth of food and water, had no idea that his next 438 days would be the worst days of his life. He had gone 120 kilometers off the coast of Mexico and cast his fishing net into the sea. But at that very moment, a terrifying storm hit. To save their lives, they left the fishing net there and ran back towards the shore. After rowing the boat at high speed continuously for 6 hours, at 7 a.m., they were only 20 kilometers away from the shore and could even see their village. They had left the storm far behind, but now their luck had run out. When they were just 20 kilometers away from the shore, their boat's engine failed. They had no oars, no sail to control the boat's direction, but they did have a radio. They used it to send their location to their boss and waited for a response. But then, something happened that was every fisherman's worst nightmare. Yes, while waiting for their boss's response, their radio's battery also ran out, and now the 2 fishermen had no contact with the outside world. Jose and his companion were still in shock when suddenly, strong winds started pushing them back into the ocean. The shore they had seen was slowly moving away from them. Their boss had formed a search party and searched for them in the Pacific Ocean, but it was too late. As the days passed, it seemed increasingly unlikely that Jose and his companion would survive. 5 days had already passed, and the winds had pushed Jose's boat 450 kilometers away from the shore. They had reached a part of the ocean where all they could see was water in every direction. They knew their boat was too small to be spotted from a distance, and they had no flares or means to start a fire and signal for help. Jose and his companion were now aware that their chances of survival were less than 1%. The food and water they had brought with them had already run out, so they started catching birds that landed on their boat or nearby fish with their bare hands to eat raw. Drinking seawater can be fatal, so they collected rainwater in plastic bottles they found floating in the sea and drank that. But when it didn't rain for days, they quenched their thirst by drinking the blood of fish and turtles, but only when they managed to catch them. Now the days turned into months. The mental torture they were experiencing was unimaginable. Eventually, Jose's companion couldn't take it anymore and committed suicide after 4 months. Now, Jose was alone on the small boat with no one to talk to, surrounded by the vast ocean. Looking at the map, It's estimated that Jose was now in the most remote part of the Pacific Ocean, considered the quietest place on Earth, where even cargo ships rarely pass by. It had been over 6 months since he left the coast of Mexico, and during this time, he had lost his companion, leaving him extremely frustrated. One day, Jose spotted a cargo ship in the distance, the first he had seen in 6 months. The sight of it reignited his hope to survive. Jose made every possible signal towards a cargo ship, but unfortunately, the crew didn't notice the small boat, and his hopes of survival were crushed once again. Imagine being in the middle of the ocean, fighting for your life every day, and when you finally see a chance to save yourself, it ignores you and leaves. After 11 months, Jose had traveled 8,000 kilometers in his small boat. His clothes were torn, and he only had one undershirt left to protect himself from the sun. Finally, the moment arrived when fate smiled upon Jose. On January 30th, 2014, after 14 months, Jose saw coconuts floating in the water and realized that an island must be nearby, where coconut trees were shedding coconuts into the water. Shortly after, he spotted an island and was afraid it might also pass him by, so he jumped into the water and swam to the island. For the first time in 14 months, Jose set foot on land. When he reached the island, he saw a small beach house with a local resident inside. For the first time in 438 days, Jose had contact with another human being. This island was a remote island in the Marshall Islands called Eben Atoll, which is 11,000 kilometers away from his starting point. It was also Jose's luck that he reached near a small island in the vast ocean. Otherwise, if he had missed this island, his next stop would have been the Philippines, which is 5,000 kilometers further away. From there, Jose was sent back home, where he faced another tragedy. Upon returning home, Jose published a book called For 138 Days, but he was charged with the murder of his companion, and a case was filed against him. The same companion who, according to Jose, had committed suicide. Later, Jose won the case. If you liked this video, then subscribe